My name is Smith-Levin, and I was a Scientologist for about 29 years.
My name is Claire Headley, and I was a Scientologist for 30 years.
My name is Mark Headley, and I was a Scientologist for 25 years.
My name is Mike Rinder. I was a Scientologist for 46 years.
What's the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
Hello, everybody. I'm trying out something a little different this evening. And the experiment is to do a Q&A on a specific subject and see what kind of effect that has on the questions. And also, of course, Tuesday nights is normally when Mark and Claire would do their, well, they used to call it Top 10 Tuesdays. What do they call it now? Let me check it out. The last couple times they did it, just Scientology Live. So anyway, due to some traveling and some schedules, they're not doing anything this evening. And so I figured, okay, might as well kill some open airspace and experiment with this. So let me also begin by saying to all of you people in Scientology's Office of Special Affairs who've been tasked with watching all of the SPTV videos every waking hour of every day, if we can help it, just remember, when you want to escape, the Aftermath Foundation will help you. No hard feelings. We understand that the people in OSA have a job to do. And we also understand that most of the people in OSA these days are really getting up there in age. They're not hiring they're not bringing a lot of young blood into the Office of Special Affairs, partially because Miscavige doesn't trust any of these young new people. Could you imagine assigning some 20-something, 30-something-year-old person to watch our SPTV videos all day? Hell no. Those are the Sea Org members who are sitting there like probably having some sort of internal crisis on whether they really want to have children or not. If those guys, people in their 20s and 30s, even early 40s, I mean, hell, late 40s for that matter, saw all of us who were in the Sea Org and Scientology and staff for decades and decades, and now we're out in the real world and we're doing well and we have children and families and we go on vacations. That is the last thing Miscavige wants to see those Sea Org members watching. So, he's got people in their 70s and their 80s watching our videos. So even you guys, you guys are the ones who probably have no family left, have no savings, think it's impossible to start over. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. We've helped people in your exact shoes start their lives over again in the real world. And guys, let me tell you, you've been working some long hours up there in the Sea organization. It's a piece of cake out in the real world. Isn't it funny, you guys, to think that Miscavige actually tries to tell these Sea Org members that if they ever left, they would amount to nothing. They would end up flipping burgers at McDonald's, wind up homeless on the street. They actually make up stories about former Sea Org members and tell lies about those people to the people still on the inside that, oh, such and such died homeless on drugs and all that kind of stuff. Pure nonsense, pure fiction. Once you're accustomed to life in the Sea Org, schedule in the Sea Org, the work schedule in the Sea Org, life in the real world is a piece of cake. And guess what? People in the real world are extremely nice and kind for the most part. So anyhow, a special shout out to all you people in OSA. And also, since it's kind of OSA related, one of the functions that OSA performs, at least they used to back in the day, they act as Scientology's like media front men and women. Like when Mike Rinder was Scientology's, international spokesperson, he was doing that job from his position in the Office of Special Affairs. So I'm also kind of like throwing the gauntlet down a little bit to you people in the Office of Special Affairs. Why is it that big bad SPs like me are the ones out here answering people's questions about Scientology? I challenge any Scientologist, public, staff member, Sea Org member, doesn't matter, to do a live Q&A on YouTube answering people's questions about the Sea organization and Scientology. It's like I'm the freaking Scientology international spokesperson at this point. Like, it's getting a little ridiculous, guys. I think it's time that you put one of your own people in front of the camera to answer the questions. I mean, I'm happy to do it, but it just ends up making you guys look bad. So, all right. So let's see. Let me pay attention to the chat here. I'll try to look for chats and super chats. The reason I only end up answering super chats is because there's so many freaking comments that it wouldn't be possible for me to go through them all. So the easiest thing to do is to answer the super chats, but I'm more than happy to answer just regular non-super chat comments or questions as well. So let me scroll through. Hello, everybody. I'm seeing everybody in the chat. Let me know what country you guys are here from. I'm going to shout out countries as I see them. And of course, thank you to Goldie, the world's greatest moderator. I don't know how you do it, Goldie. I really don't know how you do it. Okay, let's see. I'm scrolling through, guys. I'm looking for some topical questions on the subject. I shouldn't have done a 5-minute intro. Now I'm going to have to scroll through 5 minutes of comments. Okay, I do see a super chat. So John Sostowski, did Sea Org members always get $50 per week, or did it adjust for cost of living? This is one of the craziest things. It did adjust up to $50. I mean, we can say for cost of living, but you know, whatever. The ironic thing is that it adjusted up to $50 whenever that was. It was, I don't know when that change occurred. I do know that as of 1993, that change had already occurred. I just don't know how far prior to 1993 the pay was bumped up to $50. What is incredible is that since 1993, the Sea Org pay has not been increased. How is that possible? Now, here at the Flag Land Base, the name of the Scientology organization in Clearwater, Florida, where I live, it was for a time increased to $100 a week. And then according to the information that was given to me, it was then put back to $50 a week. So how many years is that, guys? 7, 20, that's like 30 years. That is 30 years the Sea Org members have been getting the same amount of pay. And remember, that $50 per week is what you're supposed to buy your toiletries and hygiene essentials with. The Sea Org does not provide soap, shampoo, toothbrushes, toothpaste, conditioner, shaving cream, razors. You're supposed to pay for all that yourself. And the fact is, the Sea Org crew is subsidized in large part by their non-Sea Org family members. There's many Sea Org members who just have a credit card. You know, their parents give them a credit card or something. And it's kind of, it can be something that sort of gets someone into trouble or becomes a contentious issue with the ethics officer, because technically speaking, if you are being supported by your parents' money, that is considered an external influence in the Sea Org. And the Sea Org has a reference about what they call external influences, and it's supposed to be a violation for anything outside of the Sea Org, anything or anyone outside of the Sea Org to be exerting any kind of influence on people in the Sea Org. And if your parents are sort of the ones supporting you, they're exerting an external influence. It's not supposed to be allowed, but it happens anyway. Like, that's how there's Sea Org members with cars. There are Sea Org members with cars. Sometimes that's because they come from a wealthy family or a relatively well-off family who's willing to buy them a used car and pay for the insurance or something. There was another example there. Oh, some Sea Org members who are on certain sales positions are in a position to earn commissions, and that commission ends up in their own staff pay. This is another thing that tends to go back and forth sometimes. Sometimes David Miscavige will come down and be like, oh, I've just discovered registrars are making too much money. So instead of the commissions from the registrars going directly into their own staff pay, that money has to go into the general staff pay sum and be distributed evenly amongst all the Sea Org members. And then, for a couple months, the gross income will crash, and it will be discovered that the reason the gross income was crashed is the registrars were disincentivized from producing because they were no longer earning their bonuses and all this sort of nonsense. And so Sea Org pay policy ends up kind of pendulum swinging. So yeah, that's a whole bunch of information in response to, did Sea Org members always get $50 a week, or did it adjust for cost of living? Thank you, John. Always good to see you in here. Okay, let's see. Aaron, exactly. We are happy to stand behind such an outstanding SP. Well, cool. Thank you so much. I forget what I was saying when you made that comment, but thank you, Shanna. Okay, I promise you guys, I am looking for non-super chat questions, but I'm not going to ignore the super chats. Ace X222, is the word Scientology itself often used often in the Sea Org? Could Scientology be renamed to like Thetanism and still be in ethics? Oh yeah, Scientology is used very often in the Sea Org. Scientology, there's some words that you'll hear Scientologists use in the press that you will never, ever, ever hear a Scientologist actually say, like scripture, or even church for that matter. Scripture, faith, church. Scientologists don't use words like that. But Scientology, they use that word all the time. All the time. Yeah, because so every single reference written by L. Ron Hubbard, whether it's an administrative policy letter or a technical bulletin, has the word Scientology in it probably a dozen times. And those bulletins and policy letters are the main, I would say, the main meat and potatoes of the things that people are studying in Scientology. All righty. Yancey Kin. Flipping burgers is a better job. Your shift is 8 hours with mandatory breaks and time off. You make better money and health benefits. That is the very funny thing about Miscavige always talking down about people flipping hamburgers, is that a 16-year-old working at McDonald's has a better work-life balance, a bigger paycheck, better benefits, has more fun on the job than anyone in the Sea Org does. So that's great. All right, let's see. CO Bilf. I think I'm the only member of the SPTV crew who actually gets the joke of this name. At least I choose to believe that I am. Headley must understand this one, right? CO Bilf. I will be at the Fort Harrison Hotel later if anybody wants a discreet meet. I love it. All right, Nathaniel Christopher. Birthday game. Person with most videos in a week wins. Yes. The one thing I haven't explained about how the birthday game stats are kept in Scientology, or how the birthday game points are kept. I keep describing it as it's a game where Scientology orgs compete for who can put up the best stats, but I haven't described how they determine who's put up the best stats. You'd think it would just be based on pure volume growth, but it's not. The game is supposed to be scored in a way that a large organization and a small organization both have the same chance of winning. It's actually based on a points system. If your graph is slightly up over a 3-week trend, you get 1 point. If it's steeply up over a 3-week trend, you get 6 points. That doesn't matter if it's going from 100 to 200 or from 1 to 5. If it's up steeply, it's 6 points. If it's up just a little bit, it's 3 points. And there's a 6-point thing, but it almost never happens, and so it doesn't matter. So yeah, if it was just most videos in a week, I would probably win for sure. So that wouldn't be totally fair. But that doesn't mean I'm not in support of the proposal. Thank you, Nathaniel Christopher. All right, let's see. Caffeinated Angel. That $50 a week would not cover one menstrual cycle for a person who menstruates. I'm going to have to take your word on that one. I was going to say I'd like to hear, but I'm not sure I would like to hear how certain female Sea Org members dealt with that situation. I really don't want to know, do I? I don't think I want to know. Okay, Edna Lead, 1978 in the Sea Org in Los Angeles, $5 to $10 a week. Truly incredible. Back when $5 was a lot of money, folks. No, I'm sure it wasn't. But so if it was $10 a week in 78, so by 15 years later, approximately it was up to $50 a week. Not bad. Squiddy would like us to know that he or she is LRH's secret love child. So that's good to know. We will let Miscavige know, and maybe there's a place at International Management for you, Squiddy. Marilyn, in your previous videos, you talked about having to be invited or authorized to do the OT levels. What is Scientology's justification for that? Okay, yeah. So this is a good question. The justification is that nobody is owed anything, that it is a privilege. It is a privilege to do the OT levels. You have to qualify. You have to be deemed eligible. And therefore, so these two things go together is if you have to qualify and you have to be eligible, then you have to be invited after having been deemed to be found qualified and eligible. That's how that works. So you don't just pay. Plenty of people have paid for their OT levels and will never be allowed on them. And you might go, well, that's not fair. They should get their money back. Well, the Scientology registrar would say, well, you can ask for your money back if you'd like, but you'll be declared. And then they'll convince you to just put your money towards something else. They'll say, well, you paid for your OT levels, but really that's just dollars on account. It doesn't really matter what those dollars are there for. You can break up your OT level package and put that money towards your next course, or put that money towards some books, or, donate it to a library campaign, or donate it to one of your family members who needs some auditing. So there's two things, there's two actions, I'll call them, that you're supposed to finish after you attest to clear and before you're invited onto OT1. The first thing is called OT preparations. The second thing is called OT eligibility. OT preparations is, for the most part, a lot of sec checking called FPRD, the false purpose rundown. And it's just a ton of sec checking on usually all of your dynamics. So remember, L. Ron Hubbard said everyone has 8 dynamics, and it's the survivals, the thrusts towards survival, the 8 dynamic principles of existence. And, the first dynamic is self, second dynamic is family, third dynamic is groups, fourth dynamic is all humankind, fifth dynamic is all non-human life, sixth dynamic is all non-living things, the physical universe. Seventh dynamic is spirituality, individual spirituality. And the eighth dynamic is like eternity, the allness of all. Sometimes it's called the God dynamic. You will get false purpose rundown security checking on all 8 of your dynamics until the case supervisor, the person responsible for overseeing all the auditing, says, yeah, this person seems pretty clean. and you have to take your personality test, your OCA test, and everything has to be above the center line. And when those two things are pretty much done, I'm oversimplifying a little bit, you finish your OT preparations. Then you do OT eligibility. Now, OT eligibility is just a straight sec check on a prepared list, a list of questions. It's not based on your dynamics. It's literally just based mostly on the security of the OT levels. And it's trying to determine if you have ever been insecure with the OT levels. Have you ever talked to anybody about what's on the OT levels? Have you ever searched out for what's on the OT levels? And a whole bunch of other stuff. Once you've finished your OT preparations and your OT eligibility, RTC, the representatives from RTC, which is the organization David Miscavige controls, they review all of your folders and the whole submission that's been given to them for why you should be allowed onto the OT levels. They review all your folders. When they go, yep, looks like everything here is done completely, they literally have an actual invitation delivered to you in an envelope, and you open it up and it says you are invited to begin OT1. So that's how it works. It really is a way to make sure that Scientologists are sort of put in their place and understand they're not entitled to the OT levels. It is a privilege. And even as I say that, whenever I say it is a privilege, I just get a picture of Tom Cruise in his black turtleneck video going, it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and you've got to earn it. And it's like, not so much. All right, next. Lily Rose, it is incredible to me that this billion-dollar company, religion, does give its workers any help financially. I think you meant to say doesn't, but yes, Lily Rose, I absolutely agree. Okay, Liam Mullen. Aaron, love the channel. Why are female Sea Org members called Sir? I'm trying to remember if LRH actually, beyond just saying that this is what we're going to do, if he actually gave a reason why. And I do not remember him specifically giving a reason why, other than the concept that I have. And I was even responsible for a while on supervising the students who are on the EPF. The EPF is the Estates Project Force. It's like the Sea Org boot camp. When you join the Sea Org, you go through this whole training program called the EPF, and you're not really considered a Sea Org member until you finish the EPF. It's on those courses where you learn the Sea Org basics, including the fact that all officers are called Sir, including females. And I don't remember him saying why, other than the fact that everyone was to be treated the same. Like, females aren't treated any differently than males. And I realize that's not necessarily a good reason. Like, you could still say sir and ma'am and still treat men and women the same. I don't know. It just seems like he considered calling them different things to be treating them different ways. If any of you old timers, you experts on the Sea Org historical references have a better answer for that, for why women were called sir, please let me know in the comments section, because for the life of me, I can't remember the actual reason. Thank you for the super chat, Liam. Let me see. So Beetle Jesse, at $1,000, at $1,000 a week, and you would still be considered in poverty. Strange. I'm not sure someone that's making $50,000 a year is considered poverty, though. Beetle Jesse. I mean, maybe in Los Angeles it would be, but I can tell you that in Clearwater, Florida, it wouldn't be. Okay, John Sostowski. When a Sea Org member blows for good, do other Sea Org members descend like vultures on the stuff they left behind? Wow, that is a really good question. This is going to differ from base to base. It's going to differ from dorm to dorm and even friend group. First of all, when somebody blows, it's not really announced to everybody. You're not supposed to talk about things like that. So someone's own roommates might not even really be aware that someone blew until the ethics officer started pulling people in to interrogate them to find out who failed to report signs that this person was considering escaping or was planning escaping. And, when someone does escape, sometimes their property does have to be rounded up and sent to them. So people, if people immediately descend upon their stuff and start stealing it, that could end up being something that people get in trouble for as well. So in my experience, this wasn't really a big problem, but I can think of a handful of young, somewhat troubled, wayward Sea Org members who would not hesitate to do something like that if the opportunity arose. So I'm trying not to paint everybody with the same brush. I would say for the most part, though, John, what you're describing there doesn't really happen. Now, if the person just disappears and never contacts the org and never asks for all their stuff to be sent to them or anything, eventually that stuff is going to find its way into the hands of other Sea Org members. I mean, hell, when I was in the Sea Org, I had literally caught people stealing my laundry out of the dryer. I don't mean I didn't get back to the laundry in time and they took my stuff out of the washer and put it to the side and stuff got lost. No. I would find people stealing my clothes out of the dryer. I would catch people walking around wearing my clothes. I'm not kidding. Yeah. So it's not like I'm saying there aren't a contingent of Sea Org members who would do something like that. It's just not necessarily a big part of the culture. Thank you, John. CO Bilf. I think I'll start my own crypto, Dave Coin, for use in the Sea Org. Many opportunities for new scams. Absolutely. All right, Jazzy J. Osa, I understand how difficult the decision may be at first. Just take a few minutes of quiet time and evaluate the pros and the cons. Even if not ready today, just remain open. You deserve more and we care. Yeah. What if a shitty, thankless job being in the Office of Special Affairs today must be? I can tell you, if I was in the Office of Special Affairs, I would probably the thing that would jump out at me the most is, gosh darn it, why don't we have a really well-spoken, charismatic, good-looking spokesperson out there being the face, the friendly talking head of Scientology? I want to give some examples, but all the examples I want to give end up being really political, so I'm going to bite my tongue on that. But like, even very troubled organizations and troubled groups can send out a very charming, charismatic, well-spoken, silver-tongued spokesperson who faces the cameras and says what they have to say, no matter how much everyone knows they're lying. And just the fact that someone is there saying something, standing in the line of fire and taking it right on the chin with a smile, ends up making the organization look better than it otherwise would. And, considering Scientology is an organization that thinks it's got the most effective technology ever created for all areas of life and society, and communication tends to be the thing they really hang their hat on as far as, what Scientology can help you with. If I was in OSA, that's what would probably be bugging me the most. Why don't we have another Heber Jensch? Why don't we have another Mike Rinder? Those are the guys who would go out there and really take the fire. Even David Miscavige, if he had any balls at all, would address people. I don't mean like at an event in a secure auditorium. I mean, just actually interact with people live, in real time. Even if Miscavige wasn't going to sit down with a journalist again, which would be a total disaster, you would expect him to be able to do some sort of a press conference. Like, I do understand something like this never happened in Scientology, but, Miscavige can't even address his own people in real time. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, I won't beat it to death. You guys get the idea. So yeah, hey, any of you guys in the Office of Special Affairs, look, when you get fed up with it, seriously, the Aftermath Foundation will help you. Whether it's getting you back to your family, if you have any family, we can help you get to them. If you don't have any family, we can help you get a place to live, help you get a job, get some transportation, anywhere you want to go. Just let us know. All right, Jay Dice. Where do Sea Org members live? Are they in apartments in the same building? Does Scientology subsidize the living quarters? Excellent question. So yes, they are in apartments. So here in Clearwater, Florida, there's an apartment complex called the Hacienda Gardens on Keene and between Keene and Saturn, next to Drew, across from the Clearwater, what is that called? The Clearwater Executive Golf Course on Keene. The Hacienda Gardens Apartments, and down the street from the Hacienda Gardens is another complex called the Sherwood Gardens Apartments. These Scientology bases bought the entire apartment complex. And for the most part, I'm talking about Clearwater specifically now. For the most part, they're decent apartments. They are 3-bedroom apartments with a kitchen and 2 bathrooms. Now, there might be 15 people in those apartments, but you don't hang out there anyway. You just sleep there. In Pack, there is an apartment building right on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's called Main Building. There's another big apartment building down on Hollywood. It's called the HI, the Hollywood Inn. And for the most part, those apartments are quite shitty, but they're apartments. And Celebrity Center has its own apartments for it, a Celebrity Center International in LA. And this is basically true for every Sea Org base. It's essentially berthing, dormitory style berthing in some apartment units. I know there's going to be some orgs that are renting apartments. There's going to be some orgs that, let me see. Most bases are going to have some permanently wholly owned Scientology apartment complex type thing. There might be some reason where some bases for some temporary amount of time are renting units somewhere, but that's always very, very high risk. So as far as subsidizing the cost of the living, these things are owned outright. So there's no actual cost other than, I guess, water and electric. And remember, Scientology doesn't pay any property taxes on property that is held in the name of Scientology organizations. So the cost to Scientology to provide the housing is very, very minimal. Thank you, Jay Dice. All right, let's see. Oh, TD. The last 2 years, we rarely had a food card at Asho Foundation. Well, TD, that sounds like you were there in the old days, because by the time I got there, there were no such thing as food cards. So yeah, let me see. Oh, Jeff Hawkins is in the chat somewhere. How did I miss Jeff? Where's Jeff? All right, I'm going to have to move on. I don't see Jeff. I just see people talking about Jeff. Annie Kurtz wants to know, can we say hi to Goliath? Goliath, the first suppressive puppy. I would bring Goliath in, but I do not record in my house. And Goliath is over at my house. I brought Goliath over to the space where I record the other day specifically so that I could bring him onto the video, but I'll bring him back again soon. He's extra fluffy these days, so he's ready for his close-up. Brenda Farrow. Why does Mike have an Emmy? I'm confused. Mike has an Emmy because he won an Emmy as an executive producer on the Scientology and the Aftermath show. Now, the first season of the show won an Emmy, but Mike did not have an executive producer credit on the show for season 1. And then for season 2, Mike did have an executive producer credit, and it was nominated for an Emmy, but didn't win the Emmy that year. And then for season 3, season 3 had a thing where it finished, and then a few months later, there was a series finale, like a 2-hour special series finale. That 2-hour special was nominated for an Emmy Award, and Mike had an executive producer credit on the show, and it won again. So Leah has 2 Emmys for both Emmys that the show won, because she had an executive producer credit right from the very beginning, and Mike has 1 Emmy because he had the executive producer credit for that 3rd season special. So that's why he has an Emmy. Excellent question. All right, let's see. Loved the older private investigator clip from Mike, says Nancy Ives. Yeah, guys. So I posted about an hour ago, like a very, very short clip of Mike busting a Scientology private investigator that was following him a number of years ago. It was so funny. Mike went up, banged on the window, and the PI rolls down his window and goes, "Who are you? Get out of here. I don't want to buy your drugs." This was in the mall, the parking lot of a mall, like outside of Saks Fifth Avenue. Funniest thing ever. Thank you for the comment. God, my mouth always gets so dry doing these things. All right, let's find the next one. Achuko. I loved the shared stream from last night's SPTV. We need more Kelly Copter, please. That accent and those body thetans. Charlie from Bug Tussle, Oklahoma. Absolutely. I saw Kelly uploaded a new video last night. Her videos are so good. So definitely, if you're watching my stream right now, we got about 1,200 people watching right now. You're definitely going to want to see some of the videos that Kelly Copter has coming up. It's going to be awesome. So you can find her channel. It's just like it says in the comment there, Kelly Copter. You can't miss it. And her videos are spectacular. Okay, Lisa Marchbanks, Dragonfish Handmade Goods. I had to DM Claire to explain ILF because neither of them got it. Mark really should not have needed that explained to him. He must have just been playing dumb, if you know what I'm saying. All right, E.G. Johnson. What's the justification for new OT levels? Were the new written by LRH? What was wrong with the old OT levels? E.G. Johnson, this is a good question, and I don't actually know the answer. So, like some of the OT levels, like it'll say new OT4, new OT5. Some of these were revamped when L. Ron Hubbard was alive. The entire sequence of the bridge used to be totally different. And I have never actually really understood why, like the sequence of the OT levels have changed. It hasn't always been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You used to do them out of sequence. And I don't have the correct explanation for this. I also know that just changing the sequence of the OT levels alone did not warrant calling it new OT whatever. The procedure, the specific procedure used to audit the body thetans on the various OT levels has been modified over time. And I'm going to assume that most of those changes occurred while L. Ron Hubbard was alive under L. Ron Hubbard's direction. But like, for example, OT8, I can't for the life of me explain to you how someone justified changing OT8 and calling it new OT8. How did it become new? The thing wasn't even released until after L. Ron Hubbard was dead. So how the hell does that work? I do know there's been more than one version of OT8. On the first version of OT8, L. Ron Hubbard gives some whole big story about how he is actually the Antichrist. Now, you have to understand that in order to understand what L. Ron Hubbard meant when he said that, you have to understand he doesn't believe in an Antichrist. He doesn't believe in Christ. He doesn't believe in God, the devil, Satan, heaven, hell, angels, whatever. So there is a context to what he meant when he said, I am the Antichrist. He does believe the Bible is false and the story of the Bible is false, but he believes that the Bible, for example, like if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, you are, to the best of my understanding, waiting for, expecting, hoping for, welcoming the second coming of Christ. Well, L. Ron Hubbard says that in the real world, what will look like the second coming of Christ will actually be the return of the fifth invader force invading planet Earth, and that the story of the Bible is such, it is as it is because it's intended to sort of train the population of Earth to trick most of the population of Earth into welcoming the next alien invasion instead of fighting it. So that's a little bit of a backstory to try to explain kind of what L. Ron Hubbard might have meant when he said he was the Antichrist. My point being that the current version of New OT8 doesn't include any mention of the Antichrist, because apparently a lot of Scientologists were really weirded out and upset. It didn't go over well. And so, but even with it not going over well, who in the hell had the authority to be like, the OT8 materials aren't going over very well, let's change them and call them new OT8? So I just don't have the answer. Someone else will. There are definitely other people out there who would truly know how the answer to this question. Bruce Hines is one person who might know. Dan Kuhn is someone who might know. I wonder if some of the marketing people might know. But anyhow, that's the best answer that I can give, E.G. Johnson. Thank you very, very much. Okay, Denise Locker wants to know, why can't David Miscavige pay Sea Org folks more since there is so much more money? Why can't Sea Org folks see this problem? Well, thank you, Denise. I think the answer is that he could pay them more. He just doesn't want to. Sea Org members are upset when they don't get paid, but they're just in a frame of mind where they're not expecting to be paid. Like, they're expecting to get some money, but they don't really consider it pay. Like, you're not being paid for your time. You're not being paid, per project. It just happens to be some money you get at the end of the week that maybe you can buy some snacks with. You don't necessarily feel entitled to it because, again, it's not tied to anything. Like, imagine it's just this random arbitrary amount of money that you get that's not tied to anything. And it's $50, right? So it doesn't feel like a salary. It's not like you're going up to the pay line being like, hey, I put in an extra 10 hours this week. I'm hoping for a little bump in my pay. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter how little or how little hours you work, how few hours you work, or how many hours you work. Whatever's in that envelope is going to be what's in that envelope, whether it's $50 or whether it's nothing. So I think Sea Org members do see it as a problem when they don't get paid, but they don't see it as a problem that Sea Org members aren't on some kind of a livable wage. They definitely don't. Sea Org members don't pay for food. They don't pay for rent. Like a Sea Org member can survive without money somehow, even though you wouldn't like the idea of surviving without hygiene supplies to me is just abhorrent. And I guess you can always steal a toothbrush here and there. Anyhow, I'm getting kind of rambling here a little bit because Sea Org members should get more money. But they don't. It's not like you're going to see Sea Org members trying to organize and argue, try to form some sort of a Sea Org labor union and negotiate for higher pay. It's definitely something Sea Org members don't just think about. They're happy to get $50 a week for the most part, believe it or not. Thank you, Denise. Secret. I was in the out-of-org trainee program at Flag, and I really loved being in Clearwater, Florida. Great to discuss about pseudoscience in general for approach about Dianetics. Secret. I'm dying to know what org you were training from, what you were training for, and what years you were there. That's really cool. And how long you were there. And were you staying at the student motels on North Fort Harrison, or were you staying at the Hacienda up on Keene, or maybe at one of the other motels? That's really cool. I was an out-org trainee at Flag for 3 to 4 years between 1996 and 1998. Thank you for the super chat, Secret. I can see you're from one of the Mexican orgs, I guess. So I remember the Mexican orgs was ODD, IFADE, and ITD. OTD, ITD, and IFADE were the ones that I remember. Was that one of yours? Did you know Hector Cruzado or Ida de Pallavicini or Odin Reyes or Guillermo Pinto? Guillermo might have been from Puerto Rico, though. So sorry. All right. Next, Geekdom. Greetings from Brandon, Florida. Can you speak a little bit about auditing being compared to a form of hypnosis and Hubbard's past with that? Thank you, Aaron. So in the book Barefaced Messiah, which is the unauthorized biography of L. Ron Hubbard, incredibly accurate, incredibly fair and balanced. I read the thing. I was amazed. In the book, it talks about Hubbard being a pretty expert hypnotist. Hubbard did brag about this in his lectures as well, I remember. I just sort of didn't take it very seriously. I just figured he was bragging a bit. But in the unauthorized biography, it seems like he wasn't bragging, that he really was pretty skilled at hypnotism. My experience with auditing, there's nothing I've experienced either giving or receiving auditing that makes me go, that was hypnotism. However, I am aware that some of the auditing techniques and the repetitive nature of them, I've read some materials indicating that sort of repetitive nature, combined with the fact that when you're holding the cans of an e-meter, you do have a very small, voltage of electricity going through your body, that these are things that can induce and bring about a light state of hypnosis or reverie. I just am not really able to talk about it in any greater depth or expertise than that. When I think of hypnotism, I think of a state where you are susceptible to being given commands and following those commands. I have not witnessed or experienced or observed auditing behaving in that way. So I'm trying to kind of answer in two separate ways, where my personal experience with the whole thing doesn't tend to lead me to connect the hypnosis dots very much. And yet I am familiar with the material that would indicate it could be playing some sort of a factor there. I just don't know exactly what factor it would be playing. Thank you for the question. It's a good one. All right, Vanessa Lee. LRH was connected to Aleister Crowley. LRH, scary AF. Yes, well, LRH never met Aleister Crowley, but he did... he was buddies with Jack Parsons, who was a student of Aleister Crowley's. And Hubbard wasn't shy about talking about all that kind of stuff either. Thank you, Vanessa. Nancy Ives, a few bucks for Goliath treats. Loved Mike's private investigator clip. Who are you? I don't want to buy drugs. I almost peed my pants. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you for watching, and thank you for the super chat. And guys, if you're watching my stream right now, remember, 1,300 people watching right now. Go subscribe to Mark Headley's channel, Blown for Good. Go subscribe to Mike Rinder's channel, just called Mike Rinder. And I'm wondering if Mike can catch up to Mark in subscribers. If Mike posted videos more regularly, I think he would catch up to Mark in subscribers. So let's see. All right, Brenda Farrow. They want to save the planet, but don't like us. It's a really interesting contradiction. Scientology is about saving the planet, clearing the planet. Communication is the universal solvent, and yet their behavior does contradict those basic principles. I did an interview on my channel this week with a former Mormon named Shalise Ann Sola, and she has a YouTube channel called Cults to Consciousness. And she was talking about being excommunicated in the Mormon church and how that works exactly. And I understand that it's different from being disfellowshipped, but we didn't actually get into all that. And one of the things that shocked me is that Mormons would not get in trouble with the authorities in the Mormon church for communicating with other Mormons who had been excommunicated. And I was like, wow, I guarantee you Scientologists think that the Mormons are the crazy ones. And yet, even just using that one small example, it shows you that even in Mormonism, they are more, let's say, I'll use the word humane, compassionate, exercising common sense in not telling the members, you must never speak to someone else because they've left, or else we're going to essentially destroy your life. I just thought that was interesting. And I know many different Mormons might have different experiences along those lines. And perhaps if you're disfellowshipped, that's different than just being excommunicated. But I'm just saying, when Shalise and I were having this conversation, I was like, you're making Scientology look even worse. So anyway, yeah, they want to save the planet. Do you know how many people I have encountered who think that Scientologists are environmentalists because they always hear Scientologists talking about saving the planet, and they don't know what the hell the Scientologists are talking about. So they're assuming they're talking about saving the planet from global warming or saving the turtles or something like that. And we're like, no. There's nothing Scientologists care less about than the environment. Thank you, Brenda. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. RV at the beach. By earn it, Tom Cruise means buy it. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And speaking of buying it, I think it's interesting that Tom Cruise, David Miscavige no longer promotes how much money Tom Cruise has given to Scientology. The last time Tom Cruise was publicly acknowledged for having donated to Scientology for reaching a status was when he was awarded Platinum Meritorious. He was actually the first person to ever be awarded Platinum Meritorious. That was donating $2.5 million. And at the time that Tom Cruise was given that award, $2.5 million was the most money somebody could be acknowledged for having donated to Scientology. He was being recognized as being Scientology's biggest donor at $2.5 million. That was around 2004, 2005. And now the highest status is like $350 million. Because there are people who've actually donated that much money. And yet Tom has never been awarded anything higher than Platinum Meritorious. Isn't that interesting? I think for some reason, Miscavige didn't want to continue to put all of the weight directly onto Tom's shoulders. Because then Tom would, now every time someone beat Tom in a donation status, Tom would have to beat them back and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's why they stopped publicly recognizing Tom's achievements, his Scientology achievements. All right, let's see. Cat AC/DC fan, Tori Magoo 44 should be on your SPTV list. Claire's podcast with her was great. Yes, I saw someone make that comment on a video I did earlier today, and I added her to my list. I know Anyway, she's on the list now. I just don't know if Tori still posts videos. I'll have to check it out. But if she has a channel, and because I've interviewed Tori before, but I guess I haven't actually gone to her YouTube channel. Let me look it up real quick. Hold on. There she is. Oh my God, she's got 20,000 subscribers. Oh my God. And 949 videos. Okay, so her last upload was 8 months ago. Hey, I wonder if Tori's going to start posting regularly. Did she mention that in her interview with Claire? Because that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Thank you for the comment, Cat ACDC fan. All right, let's see. Sea Org. Deny nothing, doubt everything. Sea Org are the officer class. Everyone else are like the enlisted. The analogy there isn't great. Deny nothing, doubt everything. Because in the Sea Org, you have officers and non-officers. Oh, they're not called enlisted, though. And an officer, it's just a matter of rank. So when you join the Sea Org, you're a swamper. You get promoted to petty officer, 3rd class, 2nd class, 1st class, chief petty officer. Then you get promoted to midshipman. Midshipman is the first officer rank. Then you have midshipman, warrant officer, ensign, lieutenant, junior grade, lieutenant. Lieutenant is supposed to be the highest rank you can earn in the Sea Org. You then have what are called brevet ranks, which is a rank that you hold just because of the post that you're on, but it's not actually your rank. Like if you get demoted off of that post, you're going to lose that rank. So you can have lieutenant commander, commander, and then captain. I believe Mike Rinder said his earned rank was lieutenant junior grade. At one point, Mike was a captain, though, as the CMO International. He was a captain. And yeah, I actually never got promoted. I was always in trouble come Sea Org day. I literally never got promoted. I was a petty officer 3rd class, though, because once you finish a certain amount of courses, you can automatically get promoted to petty officer 3rd class. But I was never promoted like for merit. I was just always a bad boy, which Scientology is very happy to tell you all about. All right. Corbett Williams, does David Miscavige have a succession plan? He does not. There is no succession plan, nor was there a succession plan when L. Ron Hubbard died. It's just one of these things. For an organization that thinks it has the greatest administrative technology created in this sector of the galaxy, a succession plan shouldn't really be too much to ask for, but it seems that it is. Danny Crook says, aging a box of SP 1014 cigars for if there's ever an opportunity to enjoy them with some of the SP TV team. Thanks as always for your work, AA Ron. Danny, remind me where you live. If you live anywhere near me, then maybe we can meet up and have one of those cigars one of these days. That would be a lot of fun. All right, looking for the next one. Lathanda Grauklinger. So when a Sea Org member blows, their mates get in trouble with the ethics people. They sure do. Does knowing that put extra pressure to stay because they might harm friends? Yeah, it actually does. It actually does. And in fact, that's intentional. It's even something that L. Ron Hubbard said in one of the references about people who blow Scientology. If someone is getting auditing and they blow, that auditor is in a lot of trouble. The kind of trouble they can be in can be as severe as having to go back to the beginning and retrain on all of their auditor courses. I have seen that actually enforced on people. If you are auditing someone, especially if you're sec checking them, but if you're auditing them and they blow, you are supposed to retrain. And one of the ways L. Ron Hubbard said to recover, one of the things he said you can and should do to recover people who had blown while getting auditing was by saying to them, think of your poor auditor. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That type of manipulation is literally baked into the technology of Scientology. It's incredible to think about it. All right, Jen Nelson says, saw your video catching the private investigator, laughed so hard I snorted. Keep up the good work. Thank you. There were so many comments noting how fast I was running next to the car. And while I appreciate the compliments, the car just wasn't driving that fast. It might have looked like it was, but it wasn't. Harrison S. Any Adderall in the Sea Org seems like it would help. Oh my God. You'd probably get declared if you were found to be taking Adderall. But you know what was happening for a while? Those diet supplements that had ephedra in it were very popular for a while before ephedra was banned in these nutritional supplements, like certain protein powders and some creatine and fat burning pills and stuff. And that stuff really acted like meth, like it was a stimulant, and it really affected the behavior of some Sea Org members. I mean, that's probably as close as a Sea Org member could come to taking drugs, was all of those fat burning pills that had ephedra in it. Man, I remember that. That was crazy. So you can't get your hands on Adderall in the Sea Org. I've never heard of something like that happening. Yeah, thank you for the super chat, Harrison. Always good to see you in here. All right, let's see what else we've got. Mama 83, burger night, every man and women for themselves. Yes, hamburger night in the Sea Org was always a very, very big deal. And dessert night, especially if it was that blueberry cobbler, that peach cobbler, look out. You do not want to get into the mosh pit. When they would open, they would bring the food up. So you've got the main mess hall, and then you've got like the where they put the food, the display where the food is displayed, and then behind where the food is actually set out, you have like this freight elevator that goes downstairs to the kitchen. And man, everyone would be sitting in that line waiting to hear the doors open up on the freight elevator downstairs. And you're like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. We got 10 minutes before muster. We got to get that cobbler. And then you'd be like, what's taking the elevator so long? And then it would come and those doors would open and they'd be like, hold on, everybody back, everybody get back, everybody get back. And then they'd wheel the cobbler out. And then the poor steward would have to jump out of the way as a crowd of hungry Sea Org members all fought each other for that blueberry cobbler. Whoo, those were the days. Those were the days fighting for dessert. Hey, to all you Sea Org members watching these videos right now, you come out here in the real world, you can get all the blueberry cobbler you want, just num, 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 num. You can have blueberry cobbler every night. You can have McDonald's, In-N-Out, Burger King, chocolate milkshakes, anything your heart desires. There's no reason to fight grown men for blueberry cobbler. Yeah, dessert night. I can't remember if dessert night and burger night were the same nights. Seems like they were separate, but you know, the more the years go by, the harder it is to recall certain details like that. Thank you, Mama 83. All right. Yak Mayhoff says, I've noticed your struggle to pronounce my name, so I considered changing it. First thought was Hugh G. Rection, but it's too obvious. How about something more subtle like Mike Oxmail? Oh, I absolutely love it. We're having a good time. We're having a good time. All right, Catherine Olson. Dave can get away with saying knew this or that just by saying that the original was altered from what L. Ron Hubbard originally wrote. Yes, indeed. And Catherine Olson, it was part of your story that I was going to tell, but decided not to in response to an earlier comment about, does your friends getting in trouble for you leaving, is that something that can keep someone from leaving? And I remember when Kate was talking to me and Mark and Claire, as the Aftermath Foundation helped Kate escape from the Sea organization. Kate was getting auditing as she was planning her escape. She was getting auditing as she was planning her escape, and not just auditing. I believe it was grade 2, which is the grade specifically responsible, the grade where you take up bad things that you've done in your past. absolutely hilarious. There is no way Kate's auditor did not get absolutely nuked when she escaped. And I remember it coming up as a concern. I just, Kate, she felt so bad about it. And it's like, what you gonna do? Sucks to be in a cult. But you know what we say on SPTV? Every day is a good day not to be in a cult. Every day is a good day to leave Scientology. And that was certainly true for Catherine Olson. Thanks for the super chat, Kate. All right. Elsie, is there a retirement age in the Sea Org? Nope, there isn't. If you can physically work, you have to work. And if you can't, well, they're going to make you try anyway. And if you really can't, they're going to put you on a shorter schedule. And when you're on the shorter schedule, even when you're at home, they're going to make you write letters or something. Who was the oldest person you knew of? Gilbert Burns was the oldest person I knew of. And also this guy, was it named Wally? Who was the guy? So Gilbert Burns was an examiner at the Flag Service Organization who was easily 90 years old. And he was a great guy, sweetest guy ever. And I believe he was on post up until the day that he died, meaning he probably went home to bed and died in his sleep or something. He was ancient. And there was a guy at Flag whose job was to make models of the old Sea Org ships. And he was so old that they just decided to let him do this full time. I don't think his name was Wally. Mike Rinder actually mentioned his name recently in a video, so I know they'll know who I'm talking about. But he wasn't as old as Gilbert. He wasn't as old as Gilbert. Gilbert was definitely the oldest person that I knew of. So yeah, no retirement age. So Elsie, these days, they actually will send Sea Org members off to, I don't know what you want to call it, a boarding home. There are some homes out in LA. When I say homes, I just mean residential homes. They're not medical facilities. Residential homes where the Sea Org sends Sea Org members to die. And we helped one of the people in these homes escape. So that's how we know about the homes, about who's in them, and what goes on in those homes. That's one thing that happens with Sea Org members. Another thing that happens is if Sea Org members need some continued medical care that Scientology doesn't want to pay for, they will send them to Canada, even if they're not Canadian. If you're an Australian citizen, they'll send you back to Australia. If you're a European citizen in a country that has socialized medicine, which I think is most European countries, they'll send you back to those countries. But even if you're American, they will actually send you to Canada on a worker visa. While you're on a worker visa, you're eligible for the healthcare benefits. Once your worker visa expires, you're no longer eligible. So sometimes Scientology sends you to Canada to get as much healthcare as you can while you can. And then once it expires, oh, well, sucks to be you. Scientology has all sorts of horrible ways it deals with aging Sea Org members, sick Sea Org members, and none of them are good. None of them are good. If you're in the Office of Special Affairs and you're watching the SPTV content, really do ask yourself, what do you think your golden years are going to look like as a Sea Org member? From 70 on, why do you want to live your life in that environment? You're involved in an activity that is not sustainable. There's no good end. Who wants to die in a home in Glenwood? Live a real life. It's never too late. All right, let's see what else we got here, guys. Marilyn Honig. Hey, Aaron. There's Sarasota, Jerry, and Clearwater Chad. I do have them on my list. I hope a lady comes forward. Maine, a Zephyr Hilda. I'd totally gift them a bobblehead and outfit for that. So, are there no ladies on the SPTV thing? Unless I'm just misunderstanding your comment, Marilyn. There's Sarasota Jerry and Clearwater Chad. I hope a lady comes forward. Maine, Zephyr Hilda. I feel like there's something I'm missing here, but I'm sure we'll get it clarified shortly. Thank you, Marilyn. Anon. We have to assume David Miscavige will actually make up 9 and 10, right? I think he does it, and the Scientologists fully buy into it. What do you think? Well, Anon, it is possible. I've discussed in my previous videos what I think the challenges are to doing something like that. But the ideal org strategy is already 19 years underway now. And maybe half of the orgs in the world are finished with their ideal org, their piece of the ideal org strategy. When you're looking at a strategy like this, it doesn't get faster as you get closer to the end. It gets slower because the lowest hanging fruit has already been plucked. If however the analogy works. The money that was there the easy money that was there to be gotten has already been gotten. It's harder to finish the last half of the project than it is the first half of the project. So Miscavige easily has 20 more years before anyone's even expecting OT 9 and 10. And I believe that is one of the reasons he is doing this ideal org strategy, is to be able to kick the can down the road, buy himself some time, and be able to tell the Scientologists in the world that it's their fault OT 9 and 10 can't be released. Not his fault. Eventually, it does stand to reason that he'll have to come up with something. Eventually. He has a lot of time, though. Thank you for the super chat, Anon. All right, moving on up. Jared F. Have any celebrities' famous names started out in the Sea Org? Started out is probably the problem word in this question. So, because what would that mean? Would that mean you joined the Sea Org as a non-celebrity and then left the Sea Org and then became a celebrity? Because if that's what you mean, then that's Leah Remini. Leah Remini was in the Sea Org when she was a kid, before she was ever an actor. You would never have someone join the Sea Org and then become famous in the Sea Org. Now, Jeff Levin and his brother Robbie Levin, they were in the band The People. And it was right after The People started to actually get success. They did, in fact, join the Sea Org. I don't know if people understand this. I actually spoke to Robbie Levin today. We're going to do an interview tomorrow or the next day about this. Robbie Levin and his brother Jeff, when they were touring around the world as with their band People, they were Sea Org members. They were Sea Org members, and technically they were on a Sea Org mission called Mission People. And their goal was to tour the world, be a popular band, and promote Scientology during concerts from the stage. And they did just that. And they sold a ton of Scientology books. And so that's funny. I thought I was going to have no answers to this question. And actually, those are two really good answers. Usually celebrities are not allowed to join the Sea Org, even if they want to. L. Ron Hubbard created something. He called it an honorary Sea Org member. And that's when a celebrity wants to join the Sea Org. They're basically told, thank you, but no thank you. You're more valuable to us in the real world, doing your real world celebrity thing, but we'll make you an honorary Sea Org member. I have been told by someone close to John Travolta that John Travolta is an honorary Sea Org member, or at least thinks that he is, or calls himself that. He has a Sea Org ring that he sometimes wears and shows people. But, that's really just throwing a celebrity a bone to be like, you do good work too. Keep doing what you're doing. But if you really want to be a Sea Org member, we'll call you an honorary Sea Org member. So there you go. I guess Leah Remini is probably the best answer to that question. So how about that? All right. Moving it on up. Marilyn, so many typos in my super chat. I am blind. Yeah, I figured there were typos in there. I figured there were typos in there. Joan, Scientology brags about their chemical health program. But there's no evidence that it is effective. I've never heard anyone brag about being cured. What are your thoughts? Scam? I don't know what you mean by chemical health program. Do you mean the sauna? The purification rundown? That's probably what you mean. Chemical health. Why a chemical health program? So there's nothing in Scientology called a chemical health program. There is, of course, the purification rundown. So I'm going to assume that's what you're talking about. There is no evidence that anyone's ever been cured of anything on the purification rundown. All you do is take a massive amount of multivitamins, up to 5,000 units of niacin a day for weeks on end. You're supposed to spend up to 5 hours a day in a sauna. You can, if you're getting too hot, you can come out, you can take cold showers and whatnot. You're not like literally shut in a sauna for 5 hours a day. L. Ron Hubbard believed that, and you also have to drink a certain amount of oil and eat a certain amount of lecithin. And L. Ron Hubbard said that drug residues are stored in the fat tissues of the body, and you have to eat the oil and the lecithin so that your body will let go of the old fat. He's like, your body won't let go of the old fat if you're not bringing in the new fat. So you got to bring in the new clean fats, gets rid of the old fats and the drug residues, flush out of your system. It's all complete and utter horseshit. It's also what the Scientology's Narconon drug rehab program uses, is the purification rundown. I think people, it's sort of one of these things where you feel better, but it's not a direct cause and effect relationship. So it's kind of like if I told you that if you get up every morning, if you get 8 hours of sleep a night and you get up every morning at 7 a.m. and you drink 32 ounces of water right when you get up, and you stretch and you go for a jog and you get some sun and you meditate for 30 minutes, that this will, and then I explain some bullshit process that's going on and say, and that's going to make you feel better. And then you do my process and you feel better, because of course you feel better. You're doing something that is going to make you feel better. That is making you feel better because of, I said it was going to align your this and fix your that and destimulate this over here. I'm being a little inarticulate about this, but I think there's also a little bit of the placebo effect going on. So you tell someone this is a rigorous regimen and it's going to make you feel better, and you're getting in the sauna. There are some health benefits to being in a sauna. When you're on the purification rundown, you are supposed to get a lot of good sleep. You're taking vitamins. So you're shocking your system in a way that it's not used to. And I do not contest that people on this program, I'm not contesting that people don't get to a point where like, wow, I feel better. They do feel better. That doesn't mean it's working the way L. Ron Hubbard said it works for the reasons he says it works. It doesn't mean you're detoxifying drug residues from the fatty tissues of your body. It doesn't mean drinking oil and eating lecithin allows your body to let go of fat. It's pseudoscience, it's quackery, and yet people pay good money for it. I mean, even the Narconon program itself was like a $30,000 program. By the way, I find out recently that Mike Tyson, Iron Mike himself, got tricked into going to a Narconon program back in 2009. He had no idea what he was signing up for, and he left after 2 days. I'm going to do a follow-up video about that pretty soon here. Thank you for the super chat, Joan G. Much appreciated. And thank you for the super sticker, Gary Shields. Much appreciated. Oh, here's one. TD, my junior was an old lady. She got sick, and if I hadn't checked on her, I think she would have gotten very sick or worse. I saw my future, and they didn't get me my necessary glasses. I was done. Absolutely. I have spoken to so many people whose their own moment, their turning point in the Sea Org, when they decided they were not going to continue to be in the Sea Org, is when they saw how elderly people were treated. And they said, oh, I thought I was signing up for something that was going to take me through to the end of my life. And maybe they hadn't even thought about what that would look like or anything. And they're like, oh, these people have been in the Sea Org for 30, 40 years, and they're being treated like crap the moment they can't do a 100-hour-a-week schedule. I better get out now while the getting's good. That's happened. That's been the experience of a lot of individuals. Thank you, TD. Vanessa Lee, watching Going Clear. Accurate depiction. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and auditing is definitely a form. Mike's video was epic. Love you all. Well, I'm not sure which part of Going Clear you're referring to, but I'm still going to say yes, because I've seen Going Clear, and there's nothing in that documentary that isn't an accurate depiction. I know everybody in that documentary, and I remember the first time I watched Going Clear, it was devastating. So yes, accurate depiction and very interesting on the hypnotherapy side of that. Vanessa Lee, thank you very much. Gary Shields, thank you for the super sticker. Clearwater Chad, didn't Grant donate $10 billion? That's a good one. Grant Cardone. I've been seeing people throwing around different figures for how much money Grant Cardone has donated to Scientology. I think recently I've been seeing 30 million or 35 million thrown around. And I don't specifically know where that number comes from. I'm sure that's a combination between donations to the IAS and the Ideal Org program and donations just for auditing. But, 30 million bucks is a lot of bucks, but he's not even close to Scientology's biggest donor. Really, the biggest donor is, I think it's probably Bob Duggan. And it's like over $350 million. It's absolutely crazy. Valerie Boljack, what do Sea Org members do when money is cut off for soap, etc.? So, Valerie, remember, there is no money for soap. The Sea Org does not pay for people's soap. So when people are going through the weekly financial plan and cutting out this and cutting out that, soap isn't cut out because it was never there to begin with. I think what people do when they run out of soap, they just steal soap, or they just use shampoo and soap all in one type situation. I was never one of those people. I actually did have money when I was in the Sea Org. That's sort of a part of my story that's never really been it's never really fit in. Where do I tell that part of the story? I had money and credit cards by the time I joined the actual Sea organization. Remember, I started work for Scientology when I was 12, but that was as a staff member. I didn't actually join. Oh, and I spent a lot of time at Flag, which is a Sea Org base, but I was at Flag as a staff member, not a Sea Org member. By the time I joined the Sea Org proper, I was 22. And by the time I was 22, I'd already owned a home, had a car, had a job, had credit cards and all that kind of stuff. So by the time I joined the Sea Org, I wasn't relying on my Sea Org pay for money. So I wonder if Headley, I'm sure Headley talks about, Mark talks about not getting paid for a long, long time. So let's ask Mark next time what he did when he didn't have any soap. He probably just used any crackers lying around that he could find. All right. Gabriel R. Wasn't old OT8 Antichrist heavily influenced by Aleister Crowley? I mean, who knows? My argument for why I would lean towards saying no, but realize I'm saying no, but I don't know, is L. Ron Hubbard did not believe in Christ. He did not believe in the Antichrist. He did not believe in devil, Satan, hell, heaven. He didn't believe in anything but Thetans. There's no demons in the Sea Org. Everything's just, in Scientology, there's no different kinds of Thetans. There's no degrees of Thetans. There's just Thetans. And yes, I know Thetan sounds like Satan with a lisp. Yes, I know. And when I try to explain that L. Ron Hubbard didn't believe in God or Christ or the devil, people go, oh, the Antichrist wouldn't believe in all those things. I go, okay, for the love of God. L. Ron Hubbard didn't believe in anything but Scientology, at least towards the end. So for that reason, I don't know Aleister Crowley, I also don't truly know what Aleister Crowley believed either. So, and every time I talk about Satanism, I get in trouble with the Satanists because they go, Satanists don't really believe in Satan. And I go, I don't really give a shit. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just trying to answer the questions about Scientology to the best of my knowledge and my experience. And I don't believe that L. Ron Hubbard actually believed in any of the stuff Aleister Crowley believed. So for that reason, I don't tend to think that anything L. Ron Hubbard wrote in OT8 was influenced by Aleister Crowley, but I could be completely wrong. And what I tend not to be very interested in is just other people's guesses on the subject, because those guesses are as worthless as my guesses. But if other people have actual, I want to say facts, but how would anybody know? How would anybody have these facts? I've read Barefaced Messiah, which is the most complete biography of L. Ron Hubbard that exists. And nothing in that book would lead me to believe that the answer to this question is yes. I think that's probably the most responsible answer I can give. Thank you very much, Gabriel. I appreciate it. Let's see. Tanya Folk was curious if you had any experience with physical or verbal abuse from David Miscavige. Personally, no, because I never personally worked under Miscavige. My interaction with Miscavige was limited to being a member of a group of people that he was addressing from afar, from a stage, from the front of the room. I've never had a one-on-one conversation with Miscavige, which means I've also never been within arm's length of Miscavige, so never close enough that he could try to smack me or anything like that. Thank you, Tanya. Liam Mullen again. Miscavige's speech that L. Ron Hubbard had miraculously discarded his body at 2000 hours on Friday, the 24th, January, AD 36, confuses the bejesus out of me. AD 36, does Scientology have its own calendar? Well, Liam, the answer is yes. It's always been a bit of a joke, actually, in Scientology when L. Ron Hubbard says AD. What that means is after Dianetics. Dianetics was written in 1950. And for many, many, many years, when L. Ron Hubbard was giving a speech or a lecture that was being recorded, he would say, this lecture is being given on the 24th of May, AD 27. And that would mean 1977. And it's sort of a joke. Like, Scientologists don't speak like that today. Only L. Ron Hubbard would say that in lectures. But Scientologists walking around in the world, you'll never hear them say it's AD, whatever the hell. I'm not good enough at math to be able to figure out the years, guys. Actually, yes, I am. So if it's 1923, so that would be AD 73. So yeah, Scientologists don't go around saying it's AD 70. It's AD 73. But there you go. That's the answer to your question. Thank you for that. Sean McClure. How hot and cold would it get during the times you were allowed to sleep? Could you get comfortable? I bet it was miserable. No, I was always in a room that had air conditioning. I couldn't sleep without air conditioning. I mean, I just simply wouldn't have done it. Yeah, I don't remember ever suffering by virtue of sleeping temperature, and I like it cold. I set my AC in my house at 70 degrees. Here where I record, it is 67 degrees in here right now. And I'm still getting a little, I'm glowing. So yeah, that wasn't an issue for me, Sean. Thank you for that. I'm trying. Maybe there aren't a lot of regular comments because people aren't expecting me to answer them. Let's see. D. Thompson. Aaron, you should make the blueberry cobbler. I should, and I would enjoy it, but you guys might not enjoy watching me sit here stuffing my face with it. Wouldn't that be funny if we were doing an SPTV live stream on Monday and while everyone else was talking, I'm just like scooping up the blueberry cobbler? Sometimes somebody would fall down on the job down in the kitchen, and they would not put sugar into they don't buy they do whipping cream. They would hand whip the whipping cream. Sometimes they would forget to add the sugar. So you'd be getting this big spoonful of blueberry cobbler, expecting to get this nice big mouthful of sweet whipped cream in it. And then it's like, and it was just cream. God, I really might have to just shovel some blueberry cobbler in my mouth during an SPTV session. That would be really funny. But I'd have to make sure I'm wearing a black shirt, because if I did that while wearing SP blue, it would be a total disaster. All right, we got another one from Secret Answers. ACD. Oh, ACD, right, the Mexican org. Okay, birthing motels, out-of-org trainees for course supervisor, 2002. What the hell are you talking about? 2004. Oh, 2004. I'm sorry. My date's just totally, I'm sorry. ACD, birthing motels, out-of-org training for course soup, 2004. And yes, I knew all of them. I'm in therapy, and when I tell my story of abuse in Scientology, I think of you and your channel. Gosh, I would love to tell. Oh boy, if you want to do an interview with me on my channel, I would 100% do that with you. Hector Cruzado and Iride Palavancini. And what was Iride's mom was, oh my God, what were their names? Oh my God, I'm going totally blank, but I knew Ana Luisa Rodriguez and Axacerta, and wow, I can't believe I'm going blank on Iriday's parents. The dad got declared for molesting a bunch of kids and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, hey, email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. And if you want to do an interview, then let's set it up. That would be super, super awesome. All right. Thank you, Secren. Bernice, thank you, Aaron, for your support. Recently, SPTV rocks, informative and really interesting. FYI, I cannot donate in the Aftermath Foundation website. Neither buttons would take me anywhere. So let me pull it up. I'm just going to check it while I'm sitting here. I'm going to go to theaftermathfoundation.org. I see a donate button. And then when you hit the donate like tab, there's a PayPal button and you click PayPal and it pops up. So it's working for me. It's working for me, Bernice. You can also try going to Facebook and go to the Aftermath Foundation page, and Facebook has the ability to let people click the donate button right there. Or Bernice, this week, me and Mike and Mark and Claire are going to try to do another simulcast, and YouTube has an option to let you turn a live stream into a fundraiser for a nonprofit. And the Aftermath Foundation has already been approved by YouTube as an authorized nonprofit. And so we're going to do a little experiment of doing like a little 30-minute online simulcast fundraiser and see how well it works. We've been promised that YouTube, when you're doing a fundraiser, takes none of the money. That 100% of the money goes to the nonprofit. So we're going to test it out. So if you can't figure out how to do any of this stuff through the website or through Facebook, just wait for our next our Aftermath Foundation live stream and see if you can do it that way. That's awesome. And thank you so much for supporting the foundation. All the support is hugely important for the foundation. So thank you. Jared F. Whatever happened to the original ships that Hubbard used? Were they scrapped or did the government get a hold of them? Sorry if you've already talked about this, just joined and probably missed it. So I know that the Apollo was scrapped for sure. I think the Diana was preserved and kept and is probably in the museum at the Flag Building. I do believe, I have no reason to believe the other ships were not also scrapped. If a big ship like the Apollo was going to be scrapped, I don't know why the fate of the other ships would have been any different. But I am also not very familiar with all the different ships. I wonder if Janice Gillum Grady would know. But maybe someone in the chat would know. Oh, I see Claire Bear here. Going Claire Headley on Scientology. Sorry, we couldn't be on tonight. Yes. Well, I decided to fill in for you guys at the last minute, although I didn't even start until 9 o'clock, and you guys are usually done by 9 o'clock. So I think you guys are going to be back next week. And yes, absolutely. Always good to see Claire Bear. Let's see what else is going on here. What else do we got? Denise Locker. It just doesn't make sense to me. If Scientology's goal is to save the planet, why, oh, why is their real focus all this hate to each other and those that have left? I don't get it. Well, it's one of these things where the way they define save the planet is by getting everybody into Scientology. And when Scientology becomes the one and only tool to save the planet, anyone who is hurting Scientology's chances of recruiting more and more people is considered literally a threat to all mankind. And that might help explain for you some of the crazy behavior from Scientology. You know, they go like, oh no, Aaron, Mike, Mark, and Claire are giving Scientology a bad name. They're literally trying to prevent us from saving the planet. We must destroy them so that we can keep saving the planet. It's stupid, but yeah, that's kind of how that thought process works. The truth is, one of the reasons it's such a hell working in Scientology is because Scientology is shrinking, and so everyone's always in trouble. And no one at the top ever says, hey guys, it's not actually your fault that people aren't coming into Scientology. It couldn't possibly be your fault because it's happening everywhere. It's our fault. We need to reimagine some things. We need to correct some things. We need to change our approach. We need to change some major basic things. You realize Scientology is shrinking in every city where Scientology exists in the world. And every one of those orgs and every one of those cities thinks it's their fault. They wouldn't think that if they knew it was happening everywhere, but they don't. And that's one of the reasons David Miscavige puts on these big events where he makes up all these bullshit stories and tells everyone in the world that Scientology really is expanding basically everywhere but where you are. Because he knows that if they knew Scientology was contracting everywhere, then they would start looking at David Miscavige as the responsible party. And they would stop buying the propaganda that it was really their own fault. So I hope that helps. I hope you like that answer, Denise. There you go. Marilyn, sorry for the typos. I meant maybe a funny name like Zephyrhilda after the Florida city. Zephyr Hills. I like Zephyr Hills. I've been there a lot. Just an idea for a mock video of Tampa Brad, but with a lady. Oh, I get it. I get it. Now it makes sense. You know, there is a skydiving school in Zephyr Hills that I went to for a while. I did 26 skydives, and they all went perfectly, except for when I was going for my final checkout. Then I had a near-death experience, and I never went back. But yeah, I jumped out of a plane 26 times. And now instead of jumping out planes, I just like to go on roller coasters. That's good enough for me. All right, let's see. What's next? I suspect we might be getting to the end. I don't actually know how many are left. And I'm not even that far behind the chat. Okay, Misty Duke. I have read that LRH was a sci-fi author. Is that true? Yes, it is true. Did he really believe this stuff, or was it all just a game to him? Yes, L. Ron Hubbard was a prolific fantasy science fiction writer. And I do believe that L. Ron Hubbard believed what he was writing in Scientology. And Scientologists believe that the reason L. Ron Hubbard was able to write so much fiction is that he was simply writing stories that he was recalling from his past lives. And that's why he didn't have to work on character development. It's why he almost never did a second draft. He was just stream of consciousness writing from his total recall of his past 76 trillion years. That is literally what Scientologists believe. I am not kidding. Sandy Bowers, my first super chat. Well, Sandy Bowers, thank you so much for the privilege of receiving your very first super chat ever. Just to say how much I appreciate the best moderator in the world, our Goldie. Yes, Goldie is, she is on the ball at all times on all channels constantly. I don't know how she does it. Even when we forget to put our chat on the slow mode or whatever it is, she still manages to wade through all of the comments and block that spam and keep everything going. So thank you so much, Goldie. And thank you, Sandy, for blessing this channel with your very first super chat. That's awesome. JSS Tiger. Will Xenu ever come to Earth and destroy us all? JSS Tiger, you're in for a rude awakening. Xenu has never left Earth. He's supposed to be imprisoned in some sort of an electronic cell somewhere in the Himalayas. And what I want to know is why Miscavige has not funded any expeditions to discover Xenu. And I don't know what we would do with him if we found him, but it seems to me that we'd be better off knowing where he is than not knowing where he is. You would think that if Miscavige had himself finished OT8, and by the way, Scientologists do believe that Miscavige has himself already finished 9 and 10, OT9 and OT10. They do believe that. And, I got to start this comment from Claire. I'm going to get back to it. So if Miscavige had already finished OT9 and 10 and had done the L's and the superpowers and all this stuff and is able to be fully stably exterior at will with full perceptions, why doesn't Miscavige know where Xenu is? And if he does know where Xenu is, why hasn't he Thetan waterboarded Xenu into divulging all of his advanced alien technology so that Scientology could figure out how to monetize that stuff and not have to beg people for money to renovate buildings. There's so much stuff in Scientology that doesn't make any sense that, I guess we are all lucky that there is so much that doesn't make sense. So we have so many things to do videos about to expose the bullshit. Thank you, Tiger. Claire says, ask Mark about refries, face, fuchsia, poop shape. Okay, Claire, I don't know what device you're using, but I'm guessing you did an emoji and somehow the stream translated your emoji face, fuchsia, poop shape. Now I'm just dying to know what the emoji was. Okay, but I will have to remember to ask Mark about refries. I do remember this freaking story. I vaguely remembered. I don't remember the details, but I'm definitely going to remember to ask him about refries. Oh my goodness. Okay, Andy Fabulous. I'll never understand why ex-Scientologists pay their freeloader bills. That's saying thank you for the abuse. Well, Andy, it really is very simple, to be honest. It's not ex-Scientologists who pay their freeloader bills. It's ex-Sea Org members who are still Scientologists. And the answer to that is you're not allowed to continue doing Scientology until you pay your freeloader bill. So you don't have to pay your freeloader bill. You'll just never be allowed to do any more Scientology. And if your goal is to keep being a Scientologist, that's a problem. And eventually, like if you just go to them and you say, yeah, I don't care, I'm not going to pay my freeloader bill because I'm not a Scientologist anymore. They'll go, okay, but you'll probably be declared. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. Scientology does not use any system outside of the Scientology bubble to collect on freeloader debts. They are only able to collect money from people who intend to continue being Scientologists. That's why I paid mine and my wife's freeloader debt. My first freeloader debt was $100,000. By the way, that was the debt I was given at the age of 17 when I first broke my first staff contract. Then when I was 19, I actually went back on staff and finished that contract so that I wouldn't have that debt. But then I joined the Sea Organization. Now, I was only in the Sea Org for about 4 years, but after 4 years, I was given a freeloader bill of about $40,000. My wife was in the Sea Org for 14 years, and her bill was north of $100,000. We managed to negotiate it down and through various processes, managed to settle both freeloader debts for $40,000, which we did. And it truly is sickening, though. It truly is sickening. So, I had spent a combined 15 years on staff and in the Sea Org. My wife had spent 14 years making basically no money during that entire time. And at the end of it, we paid them. But again, it's because we intended to continue being Scientologists. And it's sick and it's disgusting, but it's still a pretty simple answer. So thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Asher Coben. Were people who attended LRH lectures allowed to ask questions or for LRH to clarify something? Would LRH get annoyed by questioning attendees? Excellent question. Generally speaking, there's two different types of lectures that L. Ron Hubbard would give. One type would be the type of lecture that was intended to be appropriate for any audience. And the other type of lecture would be one that was intended only for trained auditors. The lectures that were for trained auditors, it was very common for them to ask him questions and for him to answer those questions. The lectures that were for anyone, they weren't the type of lectures that were intended to have a back and forth. And so, that's the answer. I've almost never heard David Miscavige open up the floor for questions. And I say that as I say that, I do feel the need to clarify. David Miscavige isn't supposed to be stepping into L. Ron Hubbard's shoes. No single person was supposed to become the next L. Ron Hubbard. And even Miscavige would say that his power, people don't think Miscavige is somehow L. Ron Hubbard 2.0. Miscavige's power in the world of Scientology comes from convincing Scientologists that he is simply executing the strategies L. Ron Hubbard had always intended, but other people before him had screwed up. Anyhow, that wasn't totally responsive to the question, but yes, L. Ron Hubbard would answer questions, particularly in the lectures that were being given to auditors. Thank you, Asher Coben. Christian Donadio, have you seen the movie The Master? If so, how close is it to Scientology? I have seen the movie The Master, and I remember thinking it was incredibly close to Scientology, even if it wasn't intended to be totally biographical. To me, it was essentially a Scientology movie with the names changed and some details changed. It would be like if you said, it would be similar to if it were a movie based on Scientology, but simply said inspired by actual events. To me, it was basically a Scientology movie. Lathanda Grauklinger, make an SPTV cook show with Claire, Mark, and Mike. Oh my God, that would be so funny. Oh my God, the options are unlimited. Thank you, Lathanda. Lathanda or Lathanda? If it's Grauklinger, you know, Lathanda, I told you, somebody emailed me the proper way to pronounce your name, and I don't think it was you. Lathanda, I think it's Lathanda. But if this was a German name, would it be Lathanda? Lathanda Grauklinger. That's how I like to say it. All right, guys. Are we actually 10:34? I'm about 15 minutes behind the chat, so we're getting there. Gabriel R., I agree with conclusion. Don't think Crowley believed any of his own OTO Thelema BS, but called himself Antichrist, Beast, 666, etc. And LRH was a huge fan. So Gabriel, so I've read Barefaced Messiah. I haven't read any of the books specifically about L. Ron Hubbard's relationship with Jack Parsons. It was covered in Barefaced Messiah, but that wasn't the point of Barefaced Messiah. I question how much of a fan LRH really was of Aleister Crowley. I think LRH was a big fan of Jack Parsons' girlfriend and Jack Parsons' boat and Jack Parsons' money. And I think LRH probably would have said anything he thought Parsons wanted to hear to ingratiate himself with Jack and in Jack's life and in his sphere of influence and his circle of friends. I just don't put a whole lot of weight into anything L. Ron Hubbard said to Jack about being a big fan of Crowley. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of this stuff just gets is like whispered down the lane. If someone said something to someone who wrote it in a book and all of a sudden it's gospel, I just tend not to believe a lot of that stuff. But, you know, that's my own personal bias as well. So thank you, Gabriel. Gina, Aaron, loved your interview on Mormonism. Have you ever stumbled on the FLDS channel, Growing Up in Polygamy? The creators would make for a great interview if you ever have time or interest to venture out again. I've heard of the channel. I don't think I've ever actually watched any of the content. I love the fact that the names of our channels are so similar. It would make for a really interesting crossover. I would probably be more interested in speaking with them on their channel than vice versa. I really feel like twice burned here. I did that one interview that was a tragedy of speaking to people who weren't actually Freemasons about Freemasonry. That was just a total misstep on my part. That did not go well. That was the first time I ever branched off and did something a little out of the norm on this channel. And then the second one was the interview with Shalise. Now, the about Mormonism a couple days ago. So, or was it just yesterday? Yeah, it was just yesterday. The feedback and the comments on the video have been decent, but I literally lost subscribers. Now, I know somebody could go, oh, it's not all about subscribers. It's not all about subscribers, but why go out of my way to do stuff that my channel wasn't created for if it's literally going to hurt the channel? You know, like, I don't know. It's not like I'm super passionate about talking to people about other subjects. I just thought it was fun and interesting. Anyway, I don't want to, you know, be like, oh, I lost subscribers, but it does make me go, why would I want to do more of that? If if a lot of okay, I could pick any other group, right? I could pick any other group other than Mormonism. I mean, let's just pick Jehovah's Witnesses. I'll tell you right now, a lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses reach out to the Aftermath Foundation wanting help. Based on that, I have to conclude there's something about that experience. There's something about the experience being in the JWs. There's something about the experience leaving. There's something about the disconnection. There's something about maybe their version of fair game that makes former JWs stories and former Scientologist stories really resonate with each other. But I guarantee you, if I did an interview with a former JW, there's probably a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who watch my channel and think, oh, wow, this guy's great. Scientology is crazy, but our group is wonderful. And they're going to think they're going to love my channel until they hear me talk about Jehovah's Witnesses or interview a former member. I'll tell you actually what would be really interesting to me, but I hesitate to do it because I wouldn't want to re-victimize any former members of these groups. I would be totally open to doing like a 3-way interview with a former Mormon, even Schließ, and a current Mormon who, and I don't even know what the right word is, because I was going to say mediate, but I don't mean mediate between them. I mean, have Schließ make a point and go, okay, what is it that she's saying that you disagree with? What do you think she's overgeneralizing about? What do you think might have been her experience, but it's not everyone's experience? And to me, that actually just intellectually and academically would be a very interesting conversation. But I can tell you this, how would I feel if I went on someone else's channel and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to bring on you and an actual Scientologist? I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Why would I waste my time arguing with someone that I know isn't being sincere and genuine in their arguments? Like, they're just going to lie. They're going to misrepresent. Do you see what I'm saying? So I did have a bunch of Mormons message me about the Schließ interview, saying things about her that a Scientologist would say about me. And I'm like, this is just kind of messy. Like, I'm no longer sure if it was even a good idea. So anyway, that's a whole lot of thoughts for your comments. I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you guys like the interview? Would you like to see more of that? I mean, I swear to God, I lost. Let me pull up. I'm sorry to beat this to death, you guys, but YouTube has some great analytics that it can show you on the back end. You can actually pull up a video and it will tell you how many subscribers you lost or gained because of that video. Okay, well, it looks like there's been a resurgence. I gained 8 subscribers from that video. I can tell you, as of yesterday, I had lost 30. So the video's making a comeback. All right. Moving on, because I really did like doing that interview, and I would like to do more. It just, I kind of go like, Jesus, that sucks. All right. Arya Schleider. Aria, my first super chat. This is awesome. First timers, whole bunch of first timers tonight. My first super chat. Just love the channel. Keep up the great work. All the love from Israel. I wish I could help more. That is amazing. Aria. Now I really want to say this name right. Arya. There it is. Arya Schleider. Schleider? I'll never get it right, guys, but it was a good try. Thank you so much, and welcome to the channel, and thank you for making your first super chat. That's amazing. All right, let's see. Danny Yates, can you please find out the time it would be in Oz for the fundraiser? Oh yeah, for sure. Would love to help the Aftermath Foundation while watching you guys. You know, we tend not to schedule things that far in advance. That's mostly my fault. I tend to do things really off the cuff. So look, let's figure this out, guys. If we do a video this week and we do a live thing, it's going to be in the evening hours. It's most likely going to be sometime around 7 p.m. Eastern. So that's Florida time. So Danny, figure out what that would be for you in Australia. You're either 12 or 13 or 14 hours ahead. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's probably going to be around 7 p.m. Eastern for sure. Denver Steve-O, I came for the AA run, but stay for the Goldie. My SPTV private eye vid over at Denver Steve-O. Do you have a video posted on your channel now, Denver Steve-O? We're gonna have to add you to the SPTV list. Let me do a little searchy. Denver Steve-O. I'll do Scientology. Well, shoot, I don't see a channel called Denver Steve-O. All right, so anyway, I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood the comment, but Steve, you got to let us know when you go live, and we'll start plugging your channel on our SPTV stuff. Let me add it to my list over here. Denver Steve-O. That's so cool. So, guys, I think we have 17 channels so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 18 SPTV channels by my count right now. God, that is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you for the super chat, Denver Steve-O. Me Time DIY with Erica. Hi, Aaron. Loving the live. Just wanted to pop in and remind everyone to click that like button. That includes you, Osa. Yeah, I mean, guys, we're already almost 2 hours into this thing. But if you're one of the 1,600 people watching live right now and you haven't hit the like button yet, just jump on down and hit that like button. It actually does help with the algorithm, even though I'll be honest, you guys, the algorithm has not been showing me very much love these days. No matter how many views my videos get over the first 48 hours, after that 48 hours, man, they go to almost zero. And that's just not normal. That's just not normal. So if you guys can help me with the engagement means liking, engagement means commenting. YouTube really cares about that stuff. Who knows? Nobody really knows how the damn algorithm works. It's life's greatest mystery. So whatever. All right. SP. Wait, is COB an SP? I mean, if you believe in SPs, then it would seem that COB is probably one. I mean, according to L. Ron Hubbard, David Miscavige is a suppressive person. L. Ron Hubbard, based on David Miscavige's statistics, based on the statistics of Scientology under David Miscavige, L. Ron Hubbard would declare David Miscavige a suppressive person. L. Ron Hubbard was pretty crystal clear that buildings are not important in Scientology. He was pretty crystal clear that you don't need big buildings and beautiful buildings in order for an org to grow and be successful. The evidence of that is that when L. Ron Hubbard was alive, Scientology was actually expanding and growing, and the buildings were garbage. The ships were garbage. The premises were garbage. The food was garbage. Everything was pretty shit. And yet Scientology was actually expanding. Miscavige buys these buildings and everything because he wants to say that Scientology expands year after year as measured by square feet. Who gives a shit how many square feet of buildings a movement has? A movement is about the people. And the people are the most important part of any movement. And the size of Scientology has been shrinking since the early 90s. So according to L. Ron Hubbard, David Miscavige is a suppressive person. But yeah, you know, what do I know? I grew up in a cult. Justin Legrand, first super chat as well. Holy Jesus, that is so cool. Thanks, Justin. I hear in a lot of old LRH lectures that you can be Christian and a Scientologist. What's up with that? Justin, I have never heard L. Ron Hubbard say in any lecture ever that you can be Christian and a Scientologist. In L. Ron Hubbard's lectures, he only ever talks mad shit about Christ and religion in general. It is only the spokespeople of Scientology these days, and they probably were saying it back then too, that would say you can be Christian and a Scientologist. But I'll tell you what, Justin, if you actually find some excerpt of an actual LRH lecture where he says that, please send it to me, because it's not like it's impossible that he ever said it somewhere. He contradicts himself in his lectures all the time. But if someone has like uploaded a segment to YouTube of L. Ron Hubbard actually saying himself that you can be a Christian and a Scientologist, do me a favor and send it to me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com, and I'll figure out, I'll do something with it. Thank you, Justin, and welcome, and thank you for making your first super chat. That is super awesome. Okay, Denver Steve-O, I'm live, but content light so far. Okay, all right. Check your email for the link. Okay, good. It won't let me send in super chat. Yeah. The chats don't let people send links, probably to cut down on certain types of spam. My weekly show will launch in May, but I'll have more before then. Fantastic. That's excellent news. I'm so happy to hear that. We're going to have so much fun. We are going to have so much fun. Well, guys, it always seems to work out that right around the 2-hour mark, I managed to catch up to the chat and get everyone's questions answered. So, you know, I did say it was a Scientology Sea Org Q&A. And I didn't expect that it would stick to that. And I'm not sure it was even helpful. I'm not sure. Okay, let me know in the chat right now. Do you guys like the idea of having themed Q&As where it's a Q&A on a particular subject or topic of Scientology instead of just a total free-for-all? Because if it's something that is helpful in any way, shape, or form, I'll continue doing it. All right, everybody, this has been an awful lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Okay, if you want to see my about rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, Oh Daddy Mama, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,